Hello and welcome to Rebuy Data Sources 101. My name is Matt and I'm a Merchant Success Manager here, and I could not be more excited to teach you all about data sources today. So I've been with the company for about 2 years, and throughout that time, I've worked with thousands almost of Rebuy merchants, specifically on how they best leverage our platform. And half of that is going to be through data sources. I personally think that data sources are the most impactful and powerful part of our feature suite. And once you get the hang of them, you'll understand exactly why. So to get into it, we're going to start by answering what is a data source. Then we're going to learn more about how widgets and data sources work together. We're going to just jump into the anatomy of a data source, what different features we offer within our data source editor, how you can test them, and then jump into some frequently asked questions. So let's just jump right in. So what is a data source? Now, when we think about Rebuy, we can think of it in two parts, really. The widgets, the front end pieces that the customer interacts with, and the data sources that power the recommendations of these widgets. So if you're asking, hey, how can I surface a specific product in a specific circumstance? Cart subtotal is greater than less than a certain amount, therefore I'd want to show a specific collection. All of that good stuff, that is going into the data source. So the data source is a set of one or more rules that work in harmony to dynamically populate products, language, and discounts within a Rebuy widget. So each widget has one data source. That widget has one or more rules that determine what shows within that widget. What you can see here are the couple of different ways that you can navigate to data sources. You'll see them on the left-hand side of the side nav. You'll also see within the widget editor, the data source that is associated with a specific widget. And then you'll also see here, this is the data source editor for a specific data source that we have clicked into. Now, what is a rule? So if we think about each data source has one or more rules, what are those rules? These are conditional logic statements that have an if and a return. The if statement determines the matching conditions in which we show the return products, language, or discounts within said widget. The return is what we're showing when the if statement matches. So in this case, our if statement is saying cart subtotal is less than $50. We would want to show within the widget that this is associated with the Rebuy zip up hoodie with a different title than what is standard for that widget. Your standard widget title might say you may also like, but in this case, we want to override that. We'll get into exactly how that works in a second, but you can see here, we have our if statement. When and where is our return statement of products, discount possibly, and language being returned. We kind of started to hint at this. Each widget has one data source. Each data source has one or more rules. One widget, in this case, if you have a, let's say, dynamic bundle or a product cross-sell widget, and you want different products to show on different pages, we're on a pre-workout page and we want to show protein. Do I need a separate widget for my protein product page to show pre-workout? No. That is the power of data sources, and that's what we're going to jump into today. You really would just need one singular widget, one product page, cross-sell in that instance, with two rules. One that says if we're on protein, show pre-workout. One rule that says if we're on pre-workout, show protein. Get into this in a second. The number of products that are displayed within a widget is determined both by the widget's layout settings and the data source's matching rules. So if your widget is only set to show 3 or 4 products, and you have a data source that is set to show one product, then there's nothing else that's going to show in that widget besides that one product. This will make a little bit more sense in a second, but I wanted to get that out of the way. The widget's language and discount as set within the widget editor will be respected unless otherwise specified by a rule in the data source. So this is saying when we're building out a widget and we set the language, what we can also consider is this language can be overridden by a rule within the data source if one exists. So with that, I'd love to jump right into the Rebuy side of things and show you how all of this comes to fruition. When you log into Rebuy, you're going to be presented with this dashboard screen. I'm in a test site right now, but this is going to look very similar for your side of things. We're going to see our widgets here. We've got plenty of information on all of these different kinds of widgets, how to set them up. But whenever you create a widget, so let's just say this is for a cart widget, you are going to be presented with this option here. Part of this has to do with the data source that it's associated with or what it defaults to, recently viewed, buy it again, top sellers, featured items, recommended cart flyout is what we'll start with here. This is going to say, and I'll just title this Rebuy Test. Okay, great. So this is what our widget would look like more or less if we did nothing besides installing it. You'll see here we've got these general settings. This is going to determine the behavior of the widget. But if I were to go into language here, you'll see that this has been set to you may also like. I could add a super title in here of, let's say, top sellers. If I were to save this, you'll see that we have an extra title up here now. And this is what is going to be defaulted if I have no other statements within the data source that override this. So all of these other things are just language settings. We've also got a discount here. Do we want to display a discount on this widget, a fixed or percentage discount? Again, these can be set at the data source level, so it doesn't have to be a discount that always persists on this widget. Now, if I were to click into the data source here, every time you create a widget, it creates an accompanying data source. You'll also see that you could, and I'm not sure if this is translating over the Loom recording, but you'll see here I have a list of all of the other data sources that have been created on this store. And those are what I could choose from if I wanted to. But since we're just starting fresh, I'm going to come into our data source here under Edit. And now you'll see that I'm within the data source that is associated to this Rebuy recommended cart flyout widget that I just created. So now that I'm in my rules editor, we'll see a couple of things here. One are these exclusions, so making sure that we're not showing out of stock products within our recommendations. We can also check off filter out of stock variants. Filter input products will make sure that we're not returning the product of the product page that we're on or a product that it already exists in our cart. That is something that you might very well want to do. So I would uncheck that if that is your case. We also have the ability to add exclusion filters of excluding specific products from ever surfacing here, even if they were otherwise going to be returned. And we can also exclude by product tag. So I'm going to delete these for now, and I'm going to jump into the rules editor. So what this rule is saying is, if anything, so any cart conditions, cart does or does not contain certain items, whatever the case may be, we are going to return the recommended AI. This is one of our many default endpoints. We also have top sellers, buy it again, recently viewed products, and similar products AI. I'll get into those in a little bit, but in this case, what this rule reads as is any cart conditions return products that have previously been purchased in correlation with the products that are in our cart. Now, if I were to want to surface more specific products in any given instance, I would add a rule before, and this is a perfect time to talk about all of the different inputs and outputs that we have access to. So there are a couple of things. One I will start with are logical operators. So Rebuy works off of both positive and negative logic, where we can say either a product is or is not in our cart. Product contains, so that's saying product contains any, we have any of these products in the cart, be it a hoodie or a skincare, whatever your products are. We're saying we have this in the cart. This would say that we don't have this in the cart. Contains all is a very inclusive operator. Or I should say that is a little bit more exclusive than you probably would want, but we're able to create a rule that says the cart or and yes, in this case, the cart contains all of these products instead of contains any would be has either of these items. Does not contain all, very straightforward. It doesn't contain both of these, could in some circumstance contain one or the other. Equals is saying the cart has these products and only these two products in the cart. So again, very specific. And then same with does not equal, except quite the opposite. So what we're saying here is we're just playing around with the logical operators, but in any case, we'll just say the cart contains this specific item. Now, the other side of these inputs are all of the inputs that we have within our dropdown. I'll just read these off as product tags. Product tags can be separated by as almost we describe them as pills. So we're going to say product tag if they have any hoodie or t-shirt or pants in the cart. So we can also work off negative logic here by just changing the operator. Product title does or does not contain hoodie. Product vendor contains Rebuy or does not contain Rebuy. Product type is what it would read as within Shopify, so t-shirt. Product handle, same as before. Input products, this is how we can change the status of the products that are in our cart. So those are product-based rules, and what I want to just highlight here, I'm going to skip over input products for now within the carousel, but we also have the ability to key off of certain collections in our cart. We have customer-based rules. So these are activated when a customer is logged in. We can have access to their customer info, whether they have customer tags that do or don't contain certain things. So if you have customers who are tagged with VIP, maybe we want to offer them something that other customers would not otherwise see. We also have order count and total spend that are operators here. We also have cart-based rules. So these are a little bit different than the product-based rules in the sense that if you have a product contains and we're looking at our cart widget, this is going to work as you would assume a cart widget would, or a cart rule would work. The cart is interesting because with cart rules, we can say if someone has a hoodie in their cart, we can also use this and product quantity greater than less than equals to a certain number. So if someone wanted to surface specific products based on someone having more or less than a given amount of a product in their cart, we have access to that as a cart rule. Cart subtotal, this is a very popular one. So if you wanted to show specific language or products based on the cart subtotal being greater than or less than a specific amount, this is how we can action that. Cart line count, this is how many lines are in your cart. So if you had a hoodie and a t-shirt in your cart and you had one item of each, you would have 2 lines in your cart and also 2 products in your cart. 2 items, I should say. You would also have 2 items in your cart. The cart item count is saying, looking at the total quantity of products in your cart. So say you had 2 hoodies and 1 t-shirt, that would be a cart line of 2, but a cart item count of 3. Next, we have date rules. So we are able to say, based on the date being before or after a certain date, we are able to display different behavior in the data source because of that. URL is a very interesting one because this is how we can have different data source behavior based on the URL that somebody comes from. If there's a UTM parameter associated with that, so you're UTM tagging influencer traffic, we can say the URL contains UTM influencer. And because of that, we would want to return the influencer collection, call it featured for now. Next, I'm going to just revert back to what we had before of endpoint recommended AI. Next, we have our geolocation rules. These are very interesting because these are how we can offer different data source behavior based on where the customer is. So if the customer is in Germany, we'd want to show them maybe a title within. And finally, we have geolocation. So geolocation is an interesting one where we can pinpoint the country code, country name, province code, province name, continent code, continent name, city name, postal code, latitude and longitude of your customers as they're browsing. This is taken from the IP address, and this is going to change widget behavior based on where someone is. Now that we know all of the different inputs that we have access to, we can go through our outputs here. So basically, we have access to almost everything that we have on the input side. So we have specific products. So if anything, I want to make sure that everybody is seeing a hoodie. That would be a specific product rule. So can you manually set product recommendations? Yes. Okay, so now that we've gone over all the different inputs that we have access to, I want to take a second to touch on the different outputs or returns that we can influence with our data sources. So likely what you see when you create a widget and therefore create a data source or make a new data source to connect to a different widget you'll see this as the first rule as a default. If anything, return the recommended AI endpoint. So we also have the ability to change the output to returning no products, returning an input product, which would return the product of the product page we're on, or a product that is in the cart. This would get canceled out by this filter input products here. We have the ability to return specific products, as you've seen me do before. We can return products with a specific tag and use the operator to define those tags, match to matching tags that contain all, or any of the product tags on the product input if we do define it there. So let's go into endpoints. So as you can see here, this is saying, if anything, return endpoint recommended AI. All of our endpoints are dynamic and really data sources in and of themselves. And you'll see where that comes into play in a moment. But this endpoint of our recommended AI, this is going to look back at the last 90 days of order data and match products based on what people purchased with the correlating input product. Top sellers, this is looking at your all-time top sellers on your store and returning as such. Trending products, this is an endpoint that we have that returns products that have seen a noticeable increase in sales over the last 30 days when compared to the 30 days prior. Buy it again. This is an endpoint that we have access to. If a customer is logged in, we can surface products that customer has previously purchased. Recently viewed, a little bit different than buy it again. This is a very standard and, might I add, very powerful in the amount of adoption I've seen this get with customers. And so this is going to return recently viewed products if a customer has a cookied session. So as you're browsing, these products will start to aggregate in an endpoint that can be referenced also if the customer comes back and is still within that cookied session. So this can be a very cool, very strategic endpoint to use. Similar products AI. This is not looking at sales data, but this is going to match products based on product tag type, vendor, collection, similarities at the product level. So if you're thinking about using this in a carousel, or in this case in a cart, if we have a hoodie in the cart, then it's probably going to return more hoodies. Or if we have a black hoodie, it might return other black items, depending on the weighting of the AI that is running this in the background. So when we return a collection, we have the option to return this collection and sort it in one of three ways. The sort by do not sort this output. This is going to return this collection as it reads and is ordered in Shopify. So product 1, 2, 3, 4 will all return in that order. There will be no dynamic sorting. Every time this is returned, it will return in the same order as it exists within Shopify. Smart sort. This is basically like running this accessories collection through our recommended AI and saying, based on the items in our cart and the items that exist within the accessories collection, what are the most frequently purchased items from this collection when looking at the products in our cart? So what accessories are often purchased with whatever is in our cart? This is very cool, and it will rearrange the products accordingly. And similar sort is going to order these products from this collection by the amount of similarity that they share to our input products. So this is where we're saying, if we have a black hoodie in the cart, maybe we want to return a collection of accessories. And if there's an accessory that has a tag of black to it, we will prioritize that one over one that has a tag of green, for instance. So very cool here. This is a very powerful feature, I will add. Okay, and that rounds out all of the different ways that we can return products within a data source. And this leads into my next point of being able to add statements to our output, just as we were able to add them to our input, that refine what it is we're returning. So in this case, you'll see we're, if anything, return collection accessories and endpoint recommended AI. How this reads currently is likely not what you want, but just for demonstrative purposes, as you might be setting up your own rules, I'll tell you why this doesn't work. What this is saying is return this collection of accessories, and then once we're done doing that, say your widget's set to return 10 products in a carousel, the accessory collection only contains 3. The other 7 products that are showing in that widget are going to be from the recommended AI. That might be exactly what you want in this case, but what I meant to do was to show you that aside from the products in the drop down here and the different ways, products with specific tags, specific products, collections, we also have these product filters where we can return products of a specific price that are greater than, less than, equal to whatever our dollar figure is here. So let's say we wanted to return this accessories collection, but make sure that the accessories that we're returning are greater than $10. This will not show a $9 accessory now. This might very well show a $9 accessory. So you can see that we can add statements here that refine the return of a specific rule. We'll also go into product discount. This is a way that we can discount. When we match to this rule, we will indicate a discount of 10% in this case. Only for the products from the accessories collection, we're not saying the entire widget should now be 10% off. That is what we can do in a later step. Product quantity. This is going to return products in a quantity of 1 by default. If you wanted to ever change that to 2, 3, 4, that is what you can change. Product limit. Now, this is a very interesting piece here. What this is going to say is if we were to match to this rule, I want to return only 1 product from this accessories collection. That is how I would do it. I would just put in a product limit of 1. And when I match to this rule, I will return this collection, but only 1 product from it. So how you could consider this is, say you wanted to return an accessories collection and a bestsellers collection and have that exist within a single widget. If you were to just say return collection, we'll call it featured for now. If your rule read like this, we are going to show the entire accessories collection and then the entire featured collection. If I were to split this out and give it each one a product limit, I can duplicate this, remove this statement, add a product limit of 1, and then remove accessories from that rule, add a product limit of 1 here. And now what this is going to do is it's going to return 1 product from in our widget. We're going to have 1 product from the accessories collection and then 1 product from the featured collection. So this is very, very useful in refining our outputs. Okay, so now is where we get into some of the more nuanced pieces of the data source editor and how we can have extremely dynamic behavior within our data sources and therefore our widgets that affect how products and titles are presenting within the widget. So I'm going to back out real quick, bring us back to the widget editor. And you'll see here that we put in this title and super title of top sellers and you may also like. And in this case, the discount on this widget is none. Okay, so we'll put that in our head. We've got a language of top sellers for the super title, a title of the you may also like. But now I'm going to go back to the data source editor and show you how we are able to add a widget language return here. So you'll see this super title and title that I can add. So if I were to match to this, and let's just say we change the matching conditions to if the cart contains, duplicate my rule here. Okay, so let's test this real quick. So what I'm going to do is give an input. I'm going to create 2 rules. If the cart subtotal is equal to 0, I want to show my collection of featured. And instead of the default widget language of top sellers and you may also like, I can override this and say, welcome to Rebuy. Start with, I'm actually going to change this to an endpoint of my top sellers. A top seller. And then if anything else, we are going to return All right, I'll try to reset this. So what I've just done here is I've added a rule above my if anything catch-all rule to say if the cart subtotal is equal to 0, so an empty cart, I want the widget to still appear and show top sellers with a super title of welcome to Rebuy and a title of start with a top seller. Now, you'll see here that now I've stacked these two rules together and I have this option to exit if matched. This is probably one of the only times I would recommend an exit if matched here. What exit if matched does is it says when we match to a rule, we will return whatever it is we're supposed to for this rule and not look for any more rules beneath it to fill in the recommendations or the title or anything else. We're saying once we have a match, stop looking for anything more. Now, if I were to put in a title of shop our accessories, they're great. This will also match to a cart subtotal equal to 0, so an empty cart, because we're saying it's a very broad, if anything, catch-all, which we may very well want, but maybe not for a title change. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my cart subtotal equal to 0 rule, exit if matched. I will save this, and then we're saying, okay, when the cart subtotal is greater than 0, we will then match to rule 2, or a different rule that we place above this, depending on your selling behavior. Okay, so now that I've set these rules, I'm going to go ahead and test this out on our smart cart. I have an empty cart. I match to the rule that says welcome to Rebuy, start with a top seller. Fantastic. Once I add this, I will no longer match to the rule that is influencing these recommendations and this title. So I'm going to add this. I move on to my next rule, and now we're surfacing the accessories. Accessories collection is very small for this test store and only contains one product. There's nothing else to show here. So we are returning our collection, and that is the entirety of that collection. But you can see how we can start to stack rules and get different widget behavior because of the priority that each of these has. So what did we just show here? This was a demonstration of being able to influence the return of a widget's products. Now we know how to change the title of this. We also have access to all of the different language options within a widget. So if you wanted to change the button text or anything like that, that is available within the widget language settings. But we also have the ability to return a widget discount. So what I'm going to show here is how we can add a discount at the rule level that would override whatever the widget settings were when we get a match to that rule, but does not persist for every single possible matching condition. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. So if I were to just set this data source and widget to return a widget discount of, call it 50%, nice round number. What this would look like is everything in this is 50% off. Now, if I wanted to show this widget at 50% off when certain cart criteria were met, I can go ahead and do that using the data source, and that is what I can show you. So let's say the cart is equal to $0. We're going to show a top seller. Let's add a rule after this that says if the cart subtotal is greater than $50, we'll show the recommended AI. This could be any product return here, but I want to show this widget at a discount of 50%. Now, brief aside on widget discounting and how Rebuy works with discounting. This is purely cosmetic. Imagine it as the 50% off sticker that you'd place on your products. For all actual discounting, you will need either a Shopify script or an automatic discount to facilitate what Rebuy is showing. So now we have this cart subtotal rule that is going to show the discount when our cart subtotal is greater than 50, and it's going to show recommended AI products at a 50% off, but it will not show this widget always at a 50% discount. So if I were to demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross over the threshold of $50. You'll see here now I'm at 50, and this is a brief aside that we are still getting expected behavior because my cart subtotal is at $50 and not greater than 50. If you had something that needed to action at exactly $50, I would recommend setting this to 49. So now that I've set this to $49, I also want to make sure that I'm calling out that we have a new super title and title that we might want to go with here. So congrats, grab a customer fave for 50% off. I'm also going to turn on exit if matched here so that we don't have this title and discount spill into any other rules. When I go to refresh here, you'll see that we have new title, new discount, and these products are coming from our rule 3 or rule 2. And rule 3 is there if we dip below our threshold. So I will go back below, and we are no longer matching to that 50% off rule, and we are only showing these at full price. Again, I'm going to come back here. So you can see that with just 3 rules, we have different widget behavior and different language and different recommendations. Okay, so now that we know all of the different things that go into making a data source, how we make exactly what we want to show up where and when, want to just run through a couple of frequently asked questions. By no means is this an exhaustive list of frequently asked questions, but there are things that come up more often than you would expect. So let's just say you wanted to show one specific product in a widget, be this post-purchase, checkout, cart page, anything like that. We can just have an input that matches your specific input conditions. Right now, we can just say for anyone or anything, we are going to show a specific product of the Rebuy mug. There are no other products set to be returned. We are only going to show this Rebuy mug. And once they add the product and we have this filter input products turned on, we will not show this widget anymore, which brings me to my next point. If there is not a matching condition to a data source, so for whatever reason, we do not match a single rule within the data source, we will not show the widget. So another way that we could do this is to say, if we are on a collection of, let's say, apparel, and we want to show a mug for some reason, if we are not on the apparel collection, we will not show this mug or any products. If you wanted to surface a widget in most places, but not everywhere, we can use the matching conditions accordingly to say, if we are, let's say we wanted to show this on apparel, and then for anything else, we want to show recommended AI, but for whatever reason, we really didn't want to show this widget on a certain products with a certain tag. Maybe it's gift cards or something like that. We can precede all of our other rules here with an if product tag. Could be a tag, could be a collection, could be anything. But let's just say the product tag contains gift card. I want to return no products. Exit if matched. What this is going to do is we're going to evaluate this rule when the page loads. If this widget is installed here, we're going to look for a matching rule. If the product tag contains gift, we have a match. What do we show? No products. And then we also have this exit if matched. Exit if matched, we are no longer going to be looking for matching rules beneath this one. We are therefore not going to show the widget. Depending on where this falls within your hierarchy of rules, you may or may not get the match or unmatched that you're looking for. Just make sure that if you don't want to show this widget for any specific reason, make sure to throw a product, make sure to throw a rule in here that does not show any products and turn on the exit if matched. I'm going to add a rule before this. Okay, so let's say you were doing something like a complete the look widget where we're on t-shirts, and for every t-shirt we wanted to show one product from multiple collections. How would we go about doing that? This is how I would do it. And that goes as follows. So let's say we're on the apparel collection. I would like to complete the look with another product. Maybe it's from the accessories collection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to return this accessories collection. And what you might be tempted to do is say, okay, return the accessories collection and then return the stickers collection and return the featured collection. So return 3 collections, map the products together that way. What this is going to do, and these are not sorted yet, I could put a smart sort on this. What happens here is we're going to load in this, we're going to match this rule if we're on the apparel collection or a product that falls into the apparel collection. We're going to surface the accessories collection, and then after that, we're going to surface the stickers collection. And then after that, we're going to surface the featured collection. So what I would do if you wanted to surface one product from the accessories collection, one product from the stickers collection, one product from the featured collection, whenever we're on the apparel product, I would do this. I would duplicate this rule twice. Now, this is not the final step. Please do not end the video here. And I would remove each, I would stick to one collection returned per rule. So we're saying if we're on the apparel collection, return accessories. I'm also going to place a product limit on this to surface one product from the accessories collection. I'm then going to surface one product from the stickers collection, because who doesn't love stickers with their apparel? So I'm going to place a product limit on this. And then I'm also going to place a product limit on this third row. So you can see here that I've just made it so that if we have a product from the apparel collection, we're going to return one accessory, one sticker, and one featured item. I can go ahead and test this by giving an input and testing the output, but this comes in handy whenever you're trying to do like a complete the look for every t-shirt. I want to show one hoodie, one jeans, and one pair of socks instead of returning all of the hoodies and then all of the jeans and then all of the socks. And then I'm going to try this by giving an input of a hoodie, which I would assume is in the apparel collection, and simulate what we get as an output. We're going to get a mug, a sticker, and a t-shirt. And that is because we are matching to rules 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 in this case. So the first 3 products, this is going to be from our first rule, our second rule, and our third rule. On the topic of completing the look, let's say you wanted to surface the same couple of products together all the time, be it in the homepage, product page, checkout page, post-purchase page. Make sure that everybody's getting exposed to all of the products that you, in your heart of hearts, know that they should be buying together, but you don't want to replicate the work done on a data source for your homepage and the data source for your cart page and the data source for your checkout page. Basically want to build all the rules once and then reuse them across the board. Let me show you how to do so. So let's say you created a new data source and you called it complete the look. So we wanted to do this as our complete the look data source. And you went in here and you'd said, if this specific product, return these specific products. If this product's with a certain tag, let me return products with matching tags. So let's say it was all like fall favorites. Fall faves, we want to return products with a specific tag that match the input tag. We want to do this for summer and winter. So all of these products are going together, and this is a very basic example, but say you'd built out a whole data source, multiple rules, and you don't want to necessarily do that across the board. 2 ways of getting these recommendations to show up in more than one place. First way is to just have a one-for-one widget mapping to this new data source. One widget needs to be attached to one data source, but that data source could theoretically be attached to more than one widget. So let's say we were to go to a widget that we already had created here, call it a dynamic bundle. Whenever you create a widget, it's going to create a data source that's associated to it. You could always go back in, create a new data source, and associate it that way. So I have the option here to select the data source that it came from, or any data source that I have made in the past, including this one that I just made. So let's say you were to say, okay, this is my bundle widget. This completes the look very nicely. I would also like that in my checkout to make sure that somebody isn't forgetting the items that I know go together. You could go to that widget and map that data source to it. So if I were to change this, that would take effect. That is one way of doing it. Another very cool way of doing it is going to this data source, say it's for the dynamic bundle. Someone may have come in here and set recommendations. that are exclusive to the dynamic bundle that aren't necessarily exclusive to checkout or vice versa. You can reference any data source as an endpoint in itself. What that looks like and what that actually boils down to is kind of data source inception. This is very advanced. It is not necessary, but I want you to know that you can do it. So we can take an endpoint instead of the recommended AI or top sellers or buy it again, any of those. You'll also see custom endpoints for all of the data sources that exist in your store, including this brand new one that I said to complete the look with. This is a data source that could, again, be mapped to multiple widgets. But in your case, you want to do maybe for my dynamic bundle, I've got my ideas of what should be bundled together. That could be specifically if a hoodie, I want to reference more from the apparel collection. Great. Then, if anything else, I could go and reference this data source that exists somewhere else and is doing its own thing within the widget and data source that are associated to this widget. What this means is you can nest one data source within another data source. I have never tested how deep this goes or how many layers deep, but it has worked with at least 3 or 4 before. Very, very, very specific edge use cases there. Not necessarily something you'll have to concern yourself with, but it's cool to know that you can do it. But for the most part, it's cool to know you can do it. Going back to our data source that we were just testing on, I want to offer a couple more tips and tricks. If you're going to be offering collections, it's tough to see in the screen recording here. But if you're going to be saying, I want my collection to always be returned with others from its collection, be it accessories, if you had specific outfits that lived in their own collections, one easy way of duplicating this rule, and that leads me to my point of duplicating is a way that you can possibly save a lot of time if rules that you're stacking one on top of the other have similar syntax. If I were to duplicate this and just move down the line in terms of the list of collections here, you can see that this goes much quicker than building a brand new rule from scratch every time to do the same thing. So 4 rules that took about 12 seconds instead of adding a rule after, changing this from if anything to an if collection, then returning this as a collection, yada, yada, yada. So just ways that you can move more quickly through the data sources. Lastly, one thing I did want to point out is whenever you have, let's call it a dynamic bundle or a complete the look where we're trying to tie products together and you're saying these products should always go together and we're going to show whichever one we're not on the product page for. Easiest way to do that is to return, instead of splitting this out between, we'll do hoodie, a mug, and a sticker. So right now we're saying if we're on any of these products, return recommended AI. Not necessarily what we want here. We're going to say return these 3 products except for the product that we're looking at. So what I could say here is just adding these in Rebuy zip. One little pro tip is searching for products is a little bit quicker if you have the product ID from Shopify. So that could just be added here real quick. I'm going to search for a mug and my sticker pack. What we're saying here is if we're on any of these 3 product pages or have any of these 3 products in the cart, we're going to show these 3 products except the product that we're looking at or have in our cart that is an input product, and that would be filtered in the filter input products. So if I didn't have this filter input products turned on, if we were on any of these 3 product pages, we would see these 3 products. But this is a more efficient way of building a similar rule for 3 products when you want the same output, and can just change the input accordingly instead of building, if we're on this Rebuy zip hoodie, I'll actually save a second of time here and say if we're on this Rebuy Zip hoodie, I want to show these two products. Okay, if we're on the mug, I want to show these two products. If we're on the sticker pack, I want to show these two products. So rule one could really exist, and now I've since deleted it, but when there were 3 products as an input and 3 products as an output, that is an easier way than creating a separate rule for each matching circumstance. One last piece is when we are returning products, specific products in this case, so let's just call it a mug, a hoodie, and a sticker. The products will display in the order in which we have returned them. You can change that if you'd like, but just know that they will return in this specific order when you are returning specific products. And with that, I encourage you to test this all out on your own. I appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our support team or check out our accompanying help documents. Thanks so much.